All right. Just going to talk some Conan comics. Did go over or read some World's Finest, but it crosses over with Justice League in their current storyline, or at least the one they were working on at the time. Whatever. So I'll move on to that and try to cover that overall when I get to it. But in the meantime, caught back up with Conan, which, as I've said ad nauseum, is one of the best and sometimes usually the best title available today. Jim Zub's done a great job of crafting these stories. Are very, very reminiscent of how it was in the old Marvel days and whatnot and all that. But easily amplified by the artwork of Roberto Delator. Hopefully I'm getting that right. Probably got it wrong again. But that guy was channeling the spirit of John Buscema. I mean, it was immaculate, perfect rendering of that, and who's, in my opinion, just the best artist who ever worked on Conan back in the Marvel or the old Marvel days. There were quite a few others did really good work and everything, but something just clicked with John Buscema working on it, and then that guy did a good job. So for a while there, they had a good run, and then Doug Braithwaite would take over. So it was kind of like, you know, either one or the other. I'm blinking on the term; it's an obvious one, but but nevertheless, that kind of rotate between the two. And of course, Doug Braithwaite's a great artist unto himself, very well crafted, and does fit within this genre, this sword and sorcery type stories and whatnot, would also make a good artist on the likes of Thor and that sort of thing. Um, and so it was fine, but eventually Delator, I believe, has moved on, which is unfortunate. And hopefully, maybe he'll come back at one point and do some more Conan. I have to keep an eye out for what other work he'll do. But fantastic artist. Braithwaite does return, does some more here. But in the meantime, uh, it moved on and it jumps around in time in the established lore from the Robert E. Howard books, but Zub's own take on some of those elements, expands on them and that sort of thing. And it jumps around through the different eras of his life. And still weaves it all in, even with the crossover miniseries of the Black Stone they did, where all the E. Howard characters met and all that sort of thing, including a character clearly based on Howard himself was in it. And that's all within the continuity established in the series and that sort of thing. But back to the story of his one true love, the pirate queen, whom I keep forgetting. I'm assuming her name is Beelit. Is it Belay? Belay? Anyway, and of course he's been dreaming about her, because we know she is no longer upon this mortal coil. And so there's flashback type stories. They go back to when they were together. And so this story of one of their adventures aboard her pirate ship and all that, and they're going to go steal some artifact and whatnot. But they chose an artist, Danica Brine, and it was pretty bad at first. There's some elements here. She does a better job in this issue, but still not on par with the likes, certainly not Delator and Doug Braithwaite. So, and in some other stories, I don't know, she'd probably be all right with, maybe X-Men or something of that nature. But it's not like she's a bad artist. She isn't. She's consistent. She's got a well take on even backgrounds and and that sort of thing. The outfits and whatnot is all pretty much in keeping. I don't know. It just doesn't click. There's something, and I've been spoiled by the likes of Buscema and stuff like that. So when you don't measure up to that, it's like, and it's kind of, this is an important narrative arc, especially when it consists with the woman that was the one true one for Conan, you know. So anyway, once again, the serpent worshippers, one of the long time enemies of Conan and whatnot. And this is the artifact you'll get into, and it leads into a longer story that it follows through. But basically, they're trying to steal it, and they come across this other thief that they bring into their ranks. And well, there's a big whole battle, and oh no, snake people, and so on and so forth. So it's great story. It fits right in with the Conan narrative that Zub's been following here, and but it's just, nothing against the artist. I'm sure she'll be fine in other elements. And as she goes, I don't know the age we're dealing with, she'll probably grow into it, but it's what, to be consistent and on time with their stories and whatnot. I guess she was available and the others aren't, and then that's how it goes. And so the previous issue, I was kind of like, this one's a little better art wise on that. And then, of course, the story is it's cool. And the whole things that go wrong and everything in it and all that. So that one is that. So seemingly, well, that was that little adventure. Let's skip ahead and move on. And we're still not dealing with the ultimate fate with Velet. We do know, we've always known what becomes of her and everything. And but here we jump ahead. Conan is basically grieving and in mourning. That part of his life is part of the pirate ship, clearly over, as we see there. But here Braithwaite returns, and you just see it's almost like painting throughout, which is a nod to the Pulp Fiction era that Conan and the like came from, And so he's got this encounter with this mystical figure. There's a strange island he's on, and there's some challenge he has to do because something that connects him to the previous adventure is still there, and it has to be dealt with. And he runs into these mystic characters, and he has this battle there, and it leads him to, well, the next arc that he has to deal with this problem and with his ultimate enemies of these serpent worshippers. And of course, his only god is Crom, but they don't really worship him or anything. They just try not to piss him off, that sort of thing, and so on and so forth. So it's more dealing in the lore of the Hyborian Age and all that sort of thing. So good, and it's great. Doug Braithwaite's art returning for that, and some great fights and whatnot. Wanted to get the actual cover here. This is more Delator art for the cover, but the only one I could get didn't have the title on it. So, but hey, you get the full art on it, so you get to see the whole thing. And there's the fight, which sort of depicts the battle, the duel that he has to face for this challenge he's under. And so it delves more into the supernatural and the like, because he's been cursed and there's some magic he's got to deal with. And it refers to the previous image or the previous story that he was in, which leads to this one. He has visions in it of the war between the serpent worshippers and this other tribe of shapeshifters and what, and they're enemies of the serpents. And as it turns out, so is Conan. So he has to deal with it. He's at a weak moment because he's in mourning over her death and so on. And it's weakened him and he's almost in trouble. But this is almost like well, I guess I'm spoiling it if I give it away. I'm just showing off the cool art. The thief that they were working with, well, we see her again, but she thinks she's on her way to some great riches. And oh boy, well, not so much. It doesn't go well, but maybe in the end, Conan will rescue her. Not that he's going to be in the mood for it, but nevertheless. So there we go. There's that. And it sets him up for this next great adventure. And here we have a classic scene. And this is a new artist joining the scene, and he's pretty damn good. Certainly within the stylings of what you could expect in Conan. And here's pretty much a classic image. He's fighting this horrific monster, and he's going to save this basically naked girl. Typical Conan. And as the typical scene, there he is. He saved her, and all this, and so he comes upon, and he's joined this tribe of warriors, and so he was sent in. He's the biggest one there. So, hey, can you go save the girl from the hideous monster? And the deal is they want to return her to her father. She was abducted to be sacrificed to that thing and all that. And along the way, they come to this mysterious town. And it's almost akin to a Twilight Zone episode. Right off the bat, Conan is so very suspicious of them. Especially, everyone's really nice, but then they smile like this. They say, oh boy, oh no. Yeah, that should be your first clue. Of course, there's plenty to be distracted by. They feed them. They say, hey, come on in. We're always about hospitality and everything. And so they give him a feast. But Conan is still suspicious. But in the meantime, the girl he saved wants to reward him. So, I really can't show that. Yeah, I can't. You get the idea. But oh no, something's wrong, and Conan does his best, but he's only one man. And so a new adventure, and the serpent worshippers and their sorcerers and everything come into play, which sets up yet another story arc for Conan, continuing on through. So good stuff. And looks like they got a new. Oh, I needed to. I'm forgetting his name. It's not Panosian here. He's a great artist himself. He just did the cover, but why am I forgetting the guy's name? Francisco, or maybe at the end here. It'll. Yes. Fernando Dagnino, I think. There's his name, but he's good. He's really good, and so there you go. If him and Doug Braithwaite alternate between them to maintain that would be really cool. So great title, can't recommend it enough, and is one of the few that's really leading the creative edge in comic books. There's, of course, again, Ghost Machine doing very well. I don't know what the profits are. I'm just saying story-wise and entertainment value, it's there. And then, of course, Mark Millar's Millerverse and all that. So DC is having a little upswing, but I've been led down that before. So we'll see how that turns out. Hope for the best. But and we'll see how all that goes. So let me see here. We got some chat. 8,000 audio. Good. Well, that's good to know. I'd hate to think nobody saw anything. 8,000 video. Even better. Wow. Even better than last night. Oh my goodness. 8,000. Are you still up? Are you up early? No, I'm up late for me. So I'll soon be going to bed. I have to get to my sleepy time because I have Pop Culture Breakdown to do that stream, which comes on earlier than usual, and then try to sit in on Pat Dixon's show. So that's how that'll work. So let's see here. I thought about, copying one of these. Or no, it was the most recent one of the classic Conan type imagery. So, of course, the one with the nasty monster. There we go. And then the ultimate aftermath. That's a pretty good Conan image. So let's see here. All right. All right. Might do it a little differently. But nevertheless, I'll go ahead and try to draw that. Because why not? You know? Okay, let me get this set up. Had to get my drawing board out of the way. We'll put this in place so that my new little drawing board here will be at an angle of a bit. And that should work. Okay. Let me turn up the juice here. Get a little brighter. And away we'll go on this one. So, oops. All right. So we had the basic pose here. And it's Conan. He's defeated a hideous monster. He's kind of taking a break there. Hopefully, the struggle is over. And for the moment. So that's basically the position he will hold. And on the top of, I don't know, some mountain, I guess. The monster had a little nest there. He was going to eat this girl. And then here comes this asshole with a sword. He's like, damn it. How the hell is a scaly monster supposed to get a meal these days? And he's like, well, I've been hired by her father. He's got a lot of money. He wants her back. So I'm going to take her. And the monster's like, yeah, all right, just go ahead. I don't know. There's probably some farm animals I can go get somewhere. I don't know. But no, the monster's like, hey, you don't just come in here to my nest and take some blonde that I captured that some weird cult left chained up against some rocks because, I don't know, they worship me for some dumb reason. And then think you can just walk off with her. No, it don't work that way. So they got to fight it out. And, well, Conan kills him, probably gutted him, that kind of thing. And really, all he had to do, he just didn't realize who he was up against. I gotta wonder how many big dudes he slaughtered himself, and he's figured, oh, this guy will be no different. And, well, it didn't go that way. So that's it for that scaly monster. Of course, you gotta wonder, just how formidable the scaly monsters were, because there just aren't any of them left. And so most guys can take them out, yeah. See? But that takes away from the achievement of Conan. So that's pretty much how he earned his keep. Well, not yet. They get captured by that weird, yet again, the serpent cult, or at least some people that are under their lure or thrall or what have you. So, but that's the life of Conan the Barbarian. He roams around looking for this type of work. Well, listen, do you have are you a king? Did your daughter get abducted by some sick snake worshipping cult and then sacrificed to some giant bat creature or whatever the hell it was? Well, hire me, and if I get there in time, I'll capture her or whatever, or I'll at least kill the bastards who took your daughter, and that way, at least you'll get some amount of justice. But if I can get her back alive, won't that be cool? That'll be great. look, if she's really grateful, well, yeah, we're gonna have a little fun, but you know, that's life. But at least she'll be alive, huh? Because guess who saved her? Me, Conan. And so that's, on the business card and everything. And so the guy's like, well, all right. Because last thing he wanted was his daughter to become dragon poo. So that's what Conan's for. He's like, yeah, I'll go in there and I'll kill that thing. It won't be the first time. And that way he gets paid. The other ways he makes money is just, he just goes into the castle or fortress or whatever, one of these crappy rulers. Usually there's some sick bastard wizard or something like that. And they've got some kind of relic that someone says, oh boy, we could really use that. And, but of course it's, I don't know, some object of evil or whatever. But Conan will steal it, and he'll get paid for that, or he'll fence it or something like that. But typically it's like, hey, that's stealing. Yeah, but it's stealing from some demon worshipping bastard, so it's fine. And there you go. So he has some amount of standards, but it's it was a different time, and that sort of thing. And well, I mean, he's really good with a sword and an axe and his fist. So what else is he supposed to do with skills like that? You know, they haven't invented trucks yet, so he can't become a truck driver. I suppose there's certainly construction, so he probably did a little bit of that, but probably didn't really appeal to him or anything. He was like, man, I just I gotta at least steal some gold, kill some monsters, or go to war or something. I can't just do crap like this all day. And that's the deal. And so, it's a living. Meanwhile, the princess or whatever, well, she's a princess, you know, and she's minding her own business, living the life. And of course, she's very valuable because she's hot and everything. And so they figure, hey, that makes her more valuable to, I don't know, whatever monster. I don't know that the monsters that they worship them and stuff, but it's like that's kind of a crappy god, It just looks it's just a dumb animal. I mean, sure, it's a weird looking animal, but it's still just a dumb animal. All it's going to do is eat her and poop her out, And that's what a waste of a hot babe. So I don't know. I mean, obviously they think, wow, she's really beautiful. That makes her valuable. Well, yeah, that's valuable to other people, And it's like, oh my God, she's so pretty. Um, you think that winged bat dragon or whatever gives a crap how hot she is? No. He's probably a little disappointed that she's not a whole lot there to her. He's like, couldn't you get a fat one? You know, and they're like, well, no. You expect us to carry a big fatty up up a mountain? Where you live, where your nest is? I mean, come on. And he's like, yeah, good point. But oh well, so he probably eats a lot of the cultists too. Yeah. And then they're like, hey, here's the girl. And he's like, yeah. But I don't think it's gonna go like King Kong and Fay Ray and all that, because gee, I don't know how. I guess I mean it's like, oh, did they have the thing trained? That's kind of weird if you train a creature to be your god. and then you're still stupid enough to worship that. But anyway, could that be the deal that it flies down, picks up the girl, takes her back to his uh, nest, and then figures, oh, well, I guess I'll eat her now, and that's what he did. And usually you would expect it to be like a female creature who has chicks up there, not other women to eat. I mean, her babies, and say, "Hey, look what I brought you, kids, a blonde," and then they're supposed to eat it, which they would probably do immediately. So, in that respect, no matter how good Conan is, he would probably be too late, you know. And he's like, "Well, uh, here's her tiara. I found that." But don't worry, King, whatever. I slaughtered the whole nest. I killed all those creatures. You won't have to worry about them no more. So he's like, well, at least there's that. But you probably don't get the full, prize or whatever he was going to pay him. Yeah. He's like, well, here's some amount of gold, but not the whole thing. No, I needed her, to be alive because, you see, I've got this treaty thing going on with our old enemies, and they want to, their son to marry my daughter, and that way we'd have this, alliance, because that's how you do things, see? And then we would have an alliance against this other assholes that neither one of us like, and we thought, well, all right, we'll join the families, and your kid can marry my daughter, get her pregnant, and won't that be cool? Yeah, great. And then here comes this damn dragon worshiping, cult or whatever, and hauls her off, which obviously there again, you could imagine there's some manipulation from this other, I don't know, kingdom or whatever is like, holy crap, they're about to have this wedding and they're going to turn on us. We got to do something. Hey, I know. Let's get the snake worshippers or the bat dragon worshippers or whatever the hell they are to kidnap the girl and sacrifice her. Neat. And so that's what they did. And then, damn it, here comes Conan and saves her. Now, granted, I mean, I guess, the wedding would still be on because that's the whole point, you know. But she's liable to give birth to a little Conan. But, and they really, get her back fast for the honeymoon so it's believable and they can do the numbers and the dates and think, well, I guess it's the prince's boy, But, well, we know better, don't we? But, what? It was either this or dragon poo. Think about that. And, she's a hot young chick, and this muscle bound dude shows up and saves her from a monster. I mean, how is she not going to go down on this guy? I mean, come on. That's just the rules. so, um, so yeah, that's pretty much how that goes. Conan. Almost had a streaming series of Conan at Amazon, but they went woke and said this is nothing but toxic masculinity and got rid of him so they could do Wheel of Time. and rewrote that to be, feminist dogma or some crap. So of course that collapsed into ruin. So then, hey, I know, let's spend, I don't know, $1 billion just to be able to use the title Lord of the Rings in a Lord of the Rings story. So then they did Rings of Power. Well, of course, they had to rewrite that and turn it into some sort of like CW like soap opera where, I don't know, Galadriel becomes Xena warrior princess and flirts with Sauron, and he's like really into her, and that's the real reason everything went wrong because he could never have the love of Galadriel. That's what I got from it. It's all pretty stupid. Now, Galadriel is supposed to be married to, I forget the guy's name, and apparently so did she. And at the time, I guess they'll like, oops, oh yeah, we'll put him in the next season or whatever. But anyway, this all came out of, Bezos took a moment to notice his streaming company and he thought, oh man, what if we had a Game of Thrones? That would be awesome. Well, he almost already did, but he thought, I know, I'll buy the brand name of Lord of the Rings, and that should be enough. And then you've got, these frauds in there who just weaponize their skin and genitals and whatnot for position and drove that into the ground. And when you had some pretty competent guys who had some pretty good ideas of how to do a fairly accurate depiction of Conan the Barbarian, and you could have had a streaming show on that. And they had the money, so it would have been rather spectacular. And no, I mean, it's Conan, of course, so they're like, toxic masculinity. So, meaning, he's masculine. He fights, he's tough, and oh boy, is he attracted to women, and that sort of thing. Well, yeah, we couldn't have that. So, although, had Sauron, of course, that was after they'd begun to realize their Wheel of Time story was failing. So, anyway, uh, it's always going to kind of stick in the craw that you almost had that and it was dropped for stupid reasoning like that. And probably like all the rage would be talking about, oh, wow, this cool show on Amazon, Conan the Barbarian. It's just awesome. And, they thought it would be their shitty take on Lord of the Rings. And I mean, it could have been had they done Lord of the Rings right. And really, what were they going to do? The Peter Jackson movies pretty much did the screen adaptation of those stories. And that's kind of it. There's, other little stories here and there, but they're not even doing that in Rings of Power. So their best bet would have been to just do a more in-depth Lord of the Rings story. I mean, I suppose they could have done another attempt at The Hobbit to start off with, want to do them in chronological order and stuff. I suppose they could have done that. A lot of people were really upset with the Hobbit film, which they turned into a trilogy. But nevertheless, so here's your chance to do a more expansive version of it where you get more of the details and story and all that. And then you move right on in to Frodo and pals. And but then you get the full story that they you couldn't do in the movies because there's only so much time. It's a lot of long-winded details. And now's your chance to do it in total. Nah, we're gonna do Lord of the Rings, the soap opera. So that was it. It's too bad. So sad. No Conan, no Lord of the Rings, no nothing. So meanwhile, the guys that were gonna do the Conan show, well, they moved over to HBO to do House of the Dragon. Now, the problem for House of the Dragon, of course, it's a prequel. Yes, another one of Game of Thrones. Well, Game of Thrones was incredible until it wasn't. You know, and once you poop the bed, no matter how good you were initially, oh man, that stench is there, you know? And so, uh, well, that's a problem for a House of the Dragon. You know? It's like, well, do you really want to get invested to it? Because you know what the future is of that story. So, well, but that first season was pretty good. It was. So all that does is stick more in my craw because it's like, yeah, these guys probably could have helmed a pretty good Conan show. And, well, ended up doing a prequel to a great show that did itself in. Albeit certain circumstances they couldn't control because the author just, I don't know, couldn't finish the damn story. But, well, there you are. I don't know if, I wonder if HBO could get the rights to Conan and you could swap it out for that. But the problem is the second season for House of the Dragon it was clear they ran out of money. I mean, it starts off, they have this pretty cool dragon duel in like the middle part of the second season. It's, you know, it's spectacular and all that. And then everything just slows way down and there's like 2 episodes that kind of just do the same thing. And it's like, okay, so you didn't have enough money to do a full season. I guess you should have just, I don't know, cut it down and say, okay, that's the season. A lot of that goes on these days, where it's way more shorter than they used to be. And that's because, hey, can't afford a full season. Man, when it shows, especially when it's a show like that kind of depends on spectacle and whatnot, you know. Or you've got to have some fascinating narrative that keeps it going. But you can't just do the same scene over and over again, which is essentially kind of what they did. Because it's like, oh man, we don't have enough material here. Hopefully we'll have some for next season. Are you going to get another season if you keep doing this? I don't think so. I really don't. No. So it's all sad and was unnecessary because they had a good idea to begin with. You know, the Conan show. But it's like everything is, if there's a way to mess up something that's almost an idiot could do, they'll find a way. And it's always like, damn, it could have been this. And just always getting robbed. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, it's too bad. Yeah, it's too bad. Isn't it? I'd say yes. And I did. Alright. I guess that'll do. There we go. Conan the Barbarian. Don't bang the table any more than you squeeze the Charmin. Take all this out. Whoops. See, I forgot to put in the extra leg there. A lot of stuff just disappears. This, but that's okay. That's okay. I'll fix it. Don't worry. All right. There's a trash can off to the side where I shake this off into it. Yeah. All right. Oops. All right. Yeah, it's just print paper. Doing it on the cheap. Oh, yes. Okay. There we go. We didn't take her leg away. I'm sure she's appreciative of that. I don't know. I guess he's fine. Let's see. The sword. Something of an edge there. I don't know what designs would be there. Something like that. I don't know where he gets his belt or his fur shorts. There we go. All right. There we have it. Conan. Cool, huh? Well, I guess it'll have to do. So there's Conan. Yep. All right. Let's see. Let's check on Superman. Yeah, this ought to work. Make sure I got it showing. Yeah. So here we are at Cosmic Book News that has the Superman Rotten Tomatoes score. And it's sky high. The review embargo has now been lifted, and the Superman Rotten Tomatoes score is in for James Gunn's new take on the Man of Steel. Those first leaked reviews and the first reactions were divisive. However, the Rotten Tomatoes score currently happens to be sky high. With the first batch of 55 reviews, the Superman Rotten Tomatoes score comes in at 91%. Update. 144 reviews are now out, and the score dipped a bit to 86%. Well, it's still pretty good, though. The audience score will be available later this weekend. Today also sees the early Amazon screening, so we'll have reactions from fans later tonight. Check out what the reviews have to say below. All right, let's do it. So here's a rundown of other Superman scores, which there wasn't a Rotten Tomatoes there. So I don't know what the tracking was or Billy. But anyway, Superman Superman 1978, 86% credit score, 86% fan score. Boy, it's been a while since they were both on par with one another, you know. Because usually it's like, hey, boy, it's doing well amongst the critics. And that's of late, it's been like, yeah, and, you know. So, oopsie doopsie. Superman number 2, 88% from critics, 76% from fans. They weren't as thrilled with that one, although I liked it, you know, as opposed to the first one. And then Superman 3, well, 32%, 23%. Yeah, well, okay. So, hey, let's try again. Superman 4, oh no, 14%, 16%. Now, in a lot of ways, Superman 4, plot wise, had potential, but they didn't have the money and it fell apart. But the idea of Superman getting rid of all the nuclear weapons, and there's potential there for, hey, what would happen if some godlike force did something like that? Well, more than likely, conventional warfare would return, and World War III would still happen, just not with nukes. And it would still be awful. So then what would Superman do, you know? So after that, boy, no Superman for a long time, you know? They didn't know what to do. And Christopher Reeve cast a long shadow over the role. And but eventually they tossed around all kinds of ideas for Superman movies. Tim Burton was going to do one about the death of Superman with Nicolas Cage as Superman. They almost did it. It didn't happen. There was a couple other ideas tossed around. There was Kevin Smith worked on one. Then eventually you had J.J. Abrams was going to do one, and that thing sounded as the dumbest take I've ever heard. That's even more than Nicolas Cage being Superman. So, you know, it was ridiculous. That was the flyby story and everything. So that didn't happen. So eventually they settled on Bryan Singer deciding, hey, I know. Why don't we just do a sequel to the Christopher Reeve movies? Wait, Christopher Reeve, sadly, had his accident and everything. And obviously, even if he hadn't, you know, he's like, hey, what are you talking about? Oh, well, we'll cast somebody else, but we'll connect it to those events of the first two movies and we'll forget all the others. So that was the premise. Okay, so it's Superman Returns. So you had Brandon Routh, who, you know, I think could have been a good Superman. You know, but he was in a crappy movie. So the story is he banged Lois, of course, in Superman 2, then erased her memories. And then here it says he left to go back to Krypton to see, hey, did anyone else survive like the Kryptonian criminals did? So, but that journey took him 5 years. So meanwhile, Lois had to get along with her life and discovers she's pregnant. So she marries, or, well, gets in a relationship with Perry White's son, whom apparently, I guess she had a one-night stand with and thought, hey, he must be the baby daddy. but he wasn't. It's Superman. And she's so mad at Superman when he returns. He says, I waited for you. They have this conversation, you know. She must have waited 5 minutes and then hooks up with the first guy she runs into. Perry White, the boss's son, you know, bangs him and figures, oh, well, I'm pregnant now. He must be the father. For that to work, for her to think, oh, it must be him. Of course it was. And the kid develops powers and all this sort of stuff. It's a shame. There's a cool scene where he saves an airplane crashing and all that, and that's pretty good. There's a couple of cool scenes of him dealing with, I don't know, bank robbers or whatever they were. And then that's it. And it's a shame because, yeah, Brandon Routh probably could have done a good Superman. But he was robbed. So after that, they tossed around. They were going to do this George Miller Justice League movie with Superman in it and stuff like that. But that fell apart with the writer's strike at the time. So Man of Steel comes along. And Oh, the Superman Returns, 73% and 60%. So people wanted a Superman movie, you know, but when you think about that story, it's bad. So Man of Steel comes along, and I was say, well, it's dark and everything. And of course, it was coming out of the Nolan. Nolan produced it out of his Dark Knight trilogy, and it's clear by looking at it, it's trying to do Superman Begins, you know, and that approach it works for Batman. It won't work for Superman. So it was dragged by quite a bit of that. Henry Cavill's performance, I think, was pretty good. I think it was a great choice to play the role. And a lot of people were upset about Superman killing Zod at the end. But this was an approach to try to be as reality based as possible, which is also the approach to the Batman Dark Knight movies. Whereas still with, you know, superpowers and aliens and all that. And how would that play out? Well, more than likely, pretty much how it did, you know, with the city being destroyed and all that. You got to keep in mind that Superman is a freshman superhero in that movie. He's never even put the suit on yet until this story unfolds and all that. But really, the dumbest scene in it is the death of Jonathan Kent, where they're stuck and they're trying to save people to get away from a tornado coming. The dog gets stuck. Jonathan Kent goes to get the dog. Then he ends up injuring his foot and he can't get away fast enough. And the Twister is coming. And he looks over at Clark, and Clark is ready to go save him. And he doesn't want him to because that would reveal his powers. And he says, don't do anything. And then Jonathan gets killed. Now, it doesn't work. It's so stupid. And Clark would have leaped over there, saved his father, and been back with him in the blink of an eye before he even realized what he had just done. And really, in all that chaos, hey, no one could claim he suddenly revealed his superpowers. Stuff like that. So they really needed to rethink that in some other way, because Jonathan was afraid of what the world would think of, you know, having an alien amongst them and all that sort of stuff, which does track back to the original Action One. It's only one panel where the Jonathan Kent, or John Kent as he was called then, talks to little Clark. And you got to keep your powers a secret or people will be afraid of you. And so there you go. There's the motivation of John Kent. So yeah, it's a problem. And also the desaturated look of it, and that Superman's so lost in it, but it's his beginning. And I think you needed a more oomph to it, that he's found his place by the end. But then you throw in that he kills Zod, even though you needed it to be in such a state that there really was no alternative. Yeah, it seems like he could have found a way. But anyway, the Jonathan Kent scene, to me, is way worse than that. Because the killing of Zod is more akin to a reality-based narrative of it. Whereas the comic book rules and whatnot, yeah, but it's not keeping its feet so grounded in reality. If you're going to take a distance from that, well, then that's a different story. But that was the approach, and I guess that's another element that people rejected. Then you got Batman versus Superman. There's so many things that are wrong with that. A lot about it I did like, especially the full-on director's cut, but it's a flawed film. And the idea that you were going to catch up with Marvel with what they did in, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 films at that point, with one, it was wrong-headed to begin with. And that's too bad. So anyway, that's the Superman movies you've had of late. Meanwhile, James Gunn, well, he was busy with Guardians of the Galaxy. So you had Guardians of the Galaxy, 92% critics, 92% audience. Wow. Guardians of the Galaxy, 85% critics, 87%. Boy, people really loved Guardians of the Galaxy. Then Guardians of the Galaxy 3, 82% critics. They were kind of dipping a bit, but 94% audience. Oh, boy. They loved those Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So Will they accept Superman? I don't know. I still stand by that James Gunn was not the guy to direct this film. Uh, him running the DC studios and stuff, I don't know, maybe. But Superman, I just don't think so. He could do the Lobo character. They're talking about that. I think he'd be perfect for that. Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, same thing. He's good at that. Superman, I don't know. So negative reviews for Superman point to its uneven tone and overstuffed narrative, which you can see by the trailers and everything, with some critics calling it a chaotic mix that struggles to find focus. Well, when you got a lot of stuff, it's hard to do, isn't it? A few say the film feels more like a parody than a serious reboot, undermining emotional moments with misplaced humor. Others criticize the lack of depth for Superman and Lois Lane, arguing that the movie prioritizes style and spectacle over character development. Yeah. Well, that's another problem when you fill it up with so much extra stuff, like other characters and superheroes. I just think that was a big mistake. Still might work and still might give them a shot for their future DCU, but oh man, you really risked a lot doing it like that. While acknowledging flashes of inspiration, detractors feel the film doesn't fully deliver on its promise and leaves Superman's story feeling distracted and unfocused. Superman is so much about Superman's earnestness, and it deeply frustrates me that it still undermines moments of drama and emotion with comedy. Yeah, that's hopefully nowhere near the likes of Thor: Love and Thunder, which the jokes just destroyed that film. It is not as okay. It is not as dire as the last Thor movie, but it doesn't always take its own stakes seriously. Yeah. So, okay. So it's not as bad as that because that's the absolute worst example of that, where the jokes just choke the life out of the movie. But yeah, it's a problem. Superman is a mess, but it's a colorful one. It's either a terrible superhero movie or an okay parody. Take your pick, says San Francisco Chronicle. Hokey, cheesy, goofy, and cartoonish, this version of Superman feels more like a parody than a powerful reboot. Flick direct. Well, so it sounds like there's just too much silliness in it, So meanwhile, what about the people who did like it? Well, positive reviews for Superman highlight its hopeful tone and fresh approach, with critics praising James Gunn for bringing optimism and heart back to the character. Reviewers say the film embraces its comic book roots, delivering a colorful and weird yet sincere superhero movie that stands apart from recent darker takes. David Cornsweet's Superman is called a worthy successor to Christopher Reeve, with the film offering vibrant action, humor, and emotional depth. While some note it's overstuffed, many agree it's an entertaining, ambitious start for Gunn's new DC universe. Superman is a triumph, both as its own standalone movie, really, because it's really cluttered, and a franchise starter. There will likely be some fans longing for the Snyderverse to rise again, but everybody else will savor this fresh take on the iconic hero. Digital Spy. James Gunn's Superman is an awesome achievement and hopeful balm, honoring past iterations both in the comics and cinema while cutting its own path, brimming with energy, vibrancy, heart, and humor. This picture obviously soars. Fresh fiction. Superman is a generation-defining superhero movie. This is getting a little over the top. And a soaring start to the DCU. James Gunn brings heart, humility, and hope to the Superman movie I have been waiting my entire life for. The future of DC is very bright. Well, okay, now wait a minute. Your whole life.
the movie podcast. It speaks to today's world without abandoning the timeless appeal of Superman symbol. Well, they changed it, you know. This story is a timeless classic about purpose, heart, and a hero who inspires black girl nerds. Pure comic book fun. The best live action iteration of the iconic character and his world to date. Gunn delivers an optimistic, modern Superman lifted straight from the comics. It's full of heart, personality, wackiness, and wonder. Cinexpress. He lost his belt. And his cape's been cut. Oh man, what happened? I don't know. Well, I'm sure they figured it out. So there you go. For everybody else, July 11th, just around the corner. I don't know when I'll get to see it. I doubt I'll get to see it this week. But hopefully next week. But nevertheless, there we go. No spoilers there, of course. Heard quite a few of those, so a lot of the stuff probably wouldn't surprise me. Most of that turns out to be pretty spot on about what the plot is and all that sort of stuff. But nevertheless, hope for the best of it, that it works out. And that's all I can do. But some of those elements with, being cluttered with the humor and everything. And, oh man, I forgot I had the camera on all this time. Jeez, no one wants to see Conan. We're talking about Superman. But anyway, hopefully it's, entertaining and good enough. And everyone has a fun time with it. But there's a lot of unnecessary elements in there. I'm not sure what the thinking was there, especially with contradictory terms about, hey, I don't do a movie or add characters to set up another movie. Yes, you did. This is what this is. Small little Easter eggs and bells and whistles would be more than sufficient for that sort of thing. And I really think you could have saved money on a stripped down Superman film with just a basic Superman cast. Now, the Daily Planet people, Lois, of course, Clark Kent, even Krypto could be in there. That's fine. And, Lex Luthor up to no good. Perhaps another villain that he introduces. And go from there. But instead, it's DC Universe Episode 1, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. A. Thompson says, how many hours to be monetized? I don't know. I did hit 2,000 subscribers, so that's nice. So thank you very much, everybody. But the hours need to be monetized. I don't know. Now, keep in mind, just because I hit those hours, that doesn't mean I get monetized. Hey, Thompson, I would have seen all the Superman movies. If they suck, they suck. Well, yeah, I'm going to see this movie, even with all my concerns about it. It could be, well, not really that big of a deal, and it'll be fine. Wouldn't have been my approach to how to do it, but it doesn't mean it won't work. And then, I'll check it out. Nothing has told me, screw this. I'm more worried about the Fantastic Four as having any shot at being good. But I'm still going to see it. But I long since realized, Superman's got nothing to worry about when it comes to Fantastic Four. And really, there's no competition for it. I don't know. I don't think the Jurassic World movie's doing that great. 28 years later came and went. There's really nothing. And I don't think Fantastic Four is going to cut into this either. So at least that aspect of it, Superman, is going to probably rule the week, but or the month, um, but probably not enough as what it needs. And now, recently, I think Gunn was saying something along the lines of, "It's hilarious. People think it needs to make 700 million to be a success." So, if that's his mathematics, then 650 million would be is profitable and a success. So then they don't scrap the DCU right there. If that's his take on it, I don't know what Zaslav thinks, but I'm thinking you really need that $1 billion thing. They need a big win. They need a big franchise to be born here for the company. That's the situation they're in. It's not really the fault of the current leadership, but it's where they are. A. Thompson, well, these reviews suck. I guess I'll cancel my ticket. Yeah, well, that's what they're saying. I don't know, unless someone really followed them a lot and said, well, if that guy doesn't like it, I'm done. Well, all right, then. But, you know, I mean, I'm a comic book nerd. What am I going to do? Ignore it? Well, that's not every comic book movie. There's been a couple I like, no thanks. You know. But Superman, yeah, I'm going to go see that. A. Thompson, is it out tonight here, but I can't go until Saturday? Oh, it is out tonight here, but I can't go until Saturday. Yeah, well, that's the situation, you know. It's like if you can't get free, that's the way it goes. A. Thompson, I have to see Fantastic Four. The technical stuff behind the filming is a must-see. Well, there's a lot of cool stuff in it, and I am intrigued by how they approached it and whatnot. I don't know that it matters overall or what they're going to do. They're about to do their reboot shenanigans with the whole MCU, so a lot of the stuff you see in there probably won't matter beyond that one movie. But nevertheless, that's probably the only cool thing about it. Galactus looks cool. The rest of it, man, just so much unnecessary nonsense. The cast, and I don't just mean Pedro Pascal, I think it's just wrong. All four of them. Female Silver Surfer for no good reason at all. You know, I like the actress. I've liked her in quite a few things. I know she's good, but that's rather irrelevant. You know, it's like I like Peter Capaldi as Doctor Who, but most of the stories he got were terrible. You know, so what are you going to do? Lie about it? No, I'm not going to lie. So, A. Thompson, IMAX 70 millimeters IMAX GT for Fantastic Four. It's so damn hard to use those cameras. I need to see that. You know? Well, I guess you will. You know. All right. Oh crap! I forgot to do the. Let me see here. I don't even know if I can check my super tips. I mean, it's in the. Yeah, no one sent any. Okay. All right. I don't have to do it. I can switch over if I need to for them to be visible here on the Rumble Studio, but there's none there. So, all right, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later on Pop Culture Breakdown and probably Pat's show. I don't know that I'll do one later. Depends on how I feel. Did pretty good earlier tonight. Didn't feel sick or anything. And so that was nice. But I got to go to bed. It is late for Mr. Nailsin. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to see Superman. And as far as the comics go, Conan the Barbarian. Yes, that's the good stuff. It is Conan. Well, there's better artists drawing it than me, so you'll probably like those better. But it's a good series, and that's the. Yeah, I know I need to get monetized here, but it's not up to me. It isn't. I can keep streaming and all that, and people can subscribe, and I can get the watch hours. But there's people who've done that, and they don't ever get monetized. You know, so we'll see. Anyhow, there we go. That's the deal. I have to go off to Betty Bye Land. And, and I sleep during the day. That's right, just like Dracula. Yeah. That sounds disgusting to me. So I'm just going to stick with my, keto diet and all that type of stuff. I don't know what, I wonder what diabetic vampires do though, They probably don't last long as well as anything. Anyway, yes, good night. Yeah, thank you, Ray Thompson. All right, everybody have a good day, and I'll talk to you when I can later.